Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 308. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. Known as the Credit Alchemist, he educates communities about the importance of credit, financial literacy, and leveraging credit to acquire funding to create wealth and do things like live for free or start a business for free. Welcome, Michael Benjamin.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you, Dr. Richards.
I have given our audience such a brief bio. I want you to fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you want them to know about you and your business. But I have to tell you, my little ears is perking up like a Doberman Pinscher, especially when you say start a business for free, because you know that is the pulse, and do things and live for free, because we know how debt and money challenges can weigh us down. But I'm going to let you take over.
All right. Appreciate you having me on the platform. First and foremost, all blessings, glory to the Most High. Hopefully everybody can get blessed with my words today. My name is Michael Benjamin. I'm the CEO of Consumer Ammunition Tactics, or CAT, where we leverage credit, no debit. And when I say that, when I'm talking about CAT, I want to first talk about the core values of CAT. So the C stands for consistency, because it's important to be consistent, not only with your credit, but just consistent in all areas of life. I always like to say that credit is life. So when you're consistent in your credit, when you're consistent in going to the gym, when you're consistent in reading these books, when you're consistent in doing these interviews like you're doing, you're going to get to where you're supposed to be. The A stands for ability. I have the ability, you have the ability, the listeners have the ability to be able to do anything that they set their mind to. And that's not limited to credit. Credit is one of those journeys I've seen a lot with my clients. Sometimes they may get deteriorated. They may just feel like they can't do it. So just understand that you have the ability to do it. And then the T is transparency. So we're transparent with our clients. And I just want everyone to be transparent with their own journey, right? You're not a bad person if you have quote unquote bad credit. Your current situation isn't your final destination. So it's just understanding that. And with the whole consumer ammunition tactics, consumer came from the fact that I kind of woke up as far as just being aware of the truth about credit. When I'm talking about the truth about credit, just talking about different consumer credit laws. A lot of people may not know, but the United States is defined as a corporation under it's a code, 28 USC, which is US code 3002. If you go down to number 15, it defines the United States as a corporation. So as I had an awakening coming into studying all of these different laws, such as the FDCPA, which is a Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the FCRA, which is a Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Truth in Lending Act, which is a TILA, 15 USC 1601, I just had to understand that this was information that wasn't really in our community. So I felt I was doing a disservice if I didn't put out the information as far as the consumer laws, but also just leveraging the credit to do, like you said, do things for free, which we're going to get into in the podcast episode. Things like manufactured spending, which is where you're basically turning your credit to cash and reaping the rewards of the reward points without even using your own money. So it's these different tactics and tricks that are legal, you know what I'm saying? Because we're not trying to do anything illegal. It's these legal tactics that can really allow us to get to that next level. So that's just a little bit about me. And I'm excited to be here on the podcast.
Talk about your journey and your story about credit. Mm-hmm. Why the passion? Why credit?
So credit, because credit is, like I said, credit is life, and it rules everything, our daily necessities when it comes to getting a house, getting an apartment. We're both in an area right now. So, I mean, we most likely had to use our credit to get that approval. Getting a car, credit just rules everything that happens to be around us. And I got my first credit card when I was like 20 years old, and I didn't really know anything about credit at the time. Luckily, based off of my parents doing what they were supposed to do as far as adding me as an authorized user, I thank them for that. But as far as the truth about credit with these different laws, with understanding the fact that I could use my credit card as a device to make money, I didn't really understand that until recently. So that's really where I got passionate about it. The fact that I'm thinking over here, I have to scramble all of this money just to start a business for free. But I didn't know that I can get multiple vehicles, zero money down, and start a Turo fleet. I have multiple cars on Turo, making me money here and there. And technically it was free because I used my good credit to go to the dealership. And I already got a check from a local credit union. That's one thing I would recommend that y'all do. Don't go to the dealership because they're going to run up your credit. You're going to get like 15, 20 inquiries. You want to go to a local credit union, local bank, get the check from them, and then take it over to them. I got multiple business auto loan approvals from Bank of America. I also got a loan from Navy Federal. So I just took my approvals. I took it to the dealership. I said, this is the car I want. They had to get the deal. Credit really gives you that leveraging power, right? So the fact I was able to start my Turo fleet for free because, when you first get a car, you don't have to make your first payment until maybe 30 to 45 days later. So listed it on Turo. I was able to make some money before the payment was due. Pay the payment, I keep the extra money. So that was technically for free. A different play you could do if you have that good credit, you want to first establish the good personal credit because the personal credit is going to influence the business credit. And business credit is really where we play. That's where the real sauce is. So with the business credit, a play that you could do to start a business for free, let's say you want to get into Airbnb. Let's say your expenses are like 20,000. Maybe you that you want to spend 20,000. Your personal credit is good. Now you've established your business credit. You can go get business credit approvals. You can go get 2 business credit cards from a bank. One thing that I did, let's talk about practical things I actually did. So one thing I did, I got 2 $10,000 business credit cards from Key Bank. I don't know if people know Key Bank, but Key Bank is only in certain states. So if it's in your state, you can go ahead and figure out how you can get in there. But I could take those 2 Key Bank business credit cards. I could take the money off of them using the manufacturer spending tactics that we may get into later. I have a course that's going to drop. So if you guys want more information on that, you can tap in with me to get that information. But you could take the $20,000 off the credit cards and understanding that there's 0% interest for 6 months. So you have 6 months to make that money back. If you can't make that money back within 6 months, Airbnb is not the business for you. You know what I'm saying? So just understand that you have many opportunities. 0% for 6 months is small. Some businesses, some banks, they allow 0% interest for 12 months. So I just encourage everybody to think in the mindset of credit, but everything starts, the foundation is the personal credit. The personal credit has to be right. I don't know if people know the different data points, but one data point is payment history. That's 35% of your score. Second important data point is your utilization rate. So let's do the math. 35% plus 30%. 2/3 of your report is just based off of your payment history and your debt utilization rate. So you really want to make sure that those 2 data points are on par. People always say that your utilization rate should be 30%. I always tell my clients, you want single digits. So you want less than 10% as far as your utilization rate, because 30% is average. But if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you're not average. You've seen the different guests that she's had on here. You should know you're not average. So I would encourage y'all to really understand that. So 35% is payment history. 30% is the utilization rate. 15% is your average age of history. So you want to have years of history. You got to think about it. If you don't have many years of history, banks aren't going to trust you. So you got to think about it as a relationship. So I like to say there's no number that says you have to have a number of history, but I like to say you want to have at least 4 years of history if you can. If you don't have that, you can always add a trade line just to get that years of history. But that's the last thing you want to do when you're actually building your credit. 10% is new credit, which means inquiries. There's things called soft inquiries. There's things called hard inquiries. Hard inquiries is what will affect your credit report, but keep in mind it is 10% of your score. Soft inquiries are like a pre-approval. It doesn't technically affect you. So just keep that in mind. The last 10% is a credit mix. So you want to have a good mix of credit. When I'm talking about a good mix of credit, I'm talking about the fact that you want to have revolving accounts, right? Revolving accounts are like credit cards. You want to have installment accounts. Installment accounts are like student loans. But just make sure that you guys structure your personal credit right and make sure that you can be able to leverage your business credit. But that's just a little bit of information.
Wow, that was a lot of information. And I have like tons of questions. And based on that, thank you for that. You dropped some huge value bombs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talked about, I definitely want you to get into manufacturer spending.
Okay.
I'm going to make a note on that. I'm going to put a pin in that. But you talked about someone's listening and they're like, you know what, I'm going to turn off this podcast, Michael, right now, because I am an entrepreneur, but you're talking about my business credit and it's shot. I filed bankruptcy. Help me.
If you filed bankruptcy and your business credit is not good, first of all, you got to understand your business is not your personal. So you could always start a new business technically. But like I said, the foundation is the personal credit. So assuming that bankruptcy gets onto your personal, my company, Consumer Ammunition Tactics, we do offer credit repair services. So we do remove bankruptcies as well. So I'm not telling you to come to me, but I'm saying that people do help remove those bankruptcies. But the main thing I would want you to understand is just be calm, because a lot of people tend to defeat themselves before they have to even defeat themselves. So I would say just embrace the mindset that your current situation isn't your final destination. You can always fix your credit, right? So just really understand that if they had a bankruptcy, it could get removed. They just have to be patient and do what needs to be done, whether they're doing it themselves. I have a lot of DIY resources, or whether they are going through someone to actually do credit repair. So once they fix that, they could start a new LLC. They could buy an Age Corp if they want the 2 years of history to maximize their funding. But you could always get out of it, is what I would say.
See, someone's listening and they said, Michael, you saved the day, because I was getting ready to hit delete, cancel, not listen anymore. Now, when you were talking about age of history, if someone has frozen their credit, if they've frozen their Social Security, how are they getting that age of history?
If you freeze your Social Security, that basically means that they're not going to be able to pull your report. But once you unfreeze it, your average age of history is based off of like your credit card accounts and things like that. So technically, once you unfreeze it, you still have that years of history. It's just when people freeze their report, it's just a matter of, I don't want these people to pull my report just in case there might be some identity theft. So you're still going to have your age of history. But the thing to understand too, on your personal side, every time you get a new card, you're resetting that average age of history. Because if I get a new card today, obviously the average age is going to go down. So you could do that. You could lock your report, but it's just that whenever you're ready to apply for something, you want to unlock it. So the age of history is still going to be there.
Okay. Go into manufacturer spending. What do we don't know that we should know?
Okay, what you don't know that you should know is that you should prioritize doing manufacturer spending every week, every day, whatever you can do in your capacity. And like I said, it starts with the foundation, which is having that good personal credit. So whether you have the budget to hire someone for credit repair services, or if you want to do it yourself, I have free resources to help you do it. I have a place called Cat Credit University, which is in the link in my Instagram bio. I guess I'll mention it later. But I say that to say, with manufacturer spending, like I said earlier, you're basically turning credit to cash, meaning that you're spending money, but you're not technically spending it. So I think the best way for me to put it is an example. So let me give you guys a very basic example. So there's a retail method that you can do. With a retail method, essentially, let's say you go to a store like Walmart, or let's use Walmart. So you go to Walmart, let's say you have a $5,000 credit card and you also have your debit card. If I know I want to take the $5,000 off that credit card, typically people might say like, oh, I have to do a cash advance. That's how I'm going to have to take money off my credit card. But what you could do, you could go to the store and you could do a split payment method where you might say, let me spend $5,100 or something. So you would say, I want to split the payment. So the way you'll do it is you'll put $5,000 on a credit card. You could put $100 on your debit. You buy it, you get the receipt, you can leave, you can come back the next day, you give the receipt back, you say that you want to return it. And at that moment, because both cards are on file, you have the ability to refund the entire thing onto your debit card. So now you have 5,100 on your debit card, but obviously you have the 5,000 on your credit card that needs to be paid off. You take the 5,000, pay it off, but you're still reaping the reward points. So let's say you're getting 1% cash back. You just made $50 just for that simple movement. So that's the most basic example of manufacturer spending. It's a legal method, but certain stores, they may not want it to happen. So just keep that in mind. One thing I always like to say about manufacturer spending, you just got to get out there and try it, because you don't know, certain methods may or may not work. Because I've been doing manufacturer spending, trying different tactics here and there, I've come up with certain methods that are very powerful that I'm going to drop in the course, because a lot of things that we see with manufacturer spending is the two main issues I've seen in my situation is either fees or time. Fees or time. Time meaning it takes a long time. So an example of something taking a long time is like the retail method I just gave y'all, the Walmart example, because you got to take time to go buy it. You got to take time to come back home. You got to take time to go and return it. And then it might be 3 to 5 days before they return it back in your bank account. Sometimes it might be a day or sooner, but it takes a lot of time and energy. We're business owners. We don't have time to be going everywhere left and right. That's one issue with manufacturer spending. So let me give you guys an example of a problem with fees. So the PayPal method. PayPal method is very simple. If you have two business PayPal accounts, this is legal. Like I said, by the way, we don't do any scams, illegal stuff. I have two different LLCs. You could also do it with one LLC and your personal account. But if you want to I like to keep everything purely business. Let's say I have business A, I have business B. I have both of them as PayPal accounts. If I want to, and that's the same example, let's say I want to take $5,000 off my credit card, or let's use $10,000 in this example. Let's say I have a $10,000 credit card. I want to get $10,000 off my credit card. So what I would do, I would log into my PayPal of business A. I'll invoice business B. So now I'll log into business B. It could be whatever I want it to be. It could be marketing budget. I might need to run Facebook ads or something. So I'll log in with that credit card. I'll pay it, and then it'll go to the business checking account of business A. But the problem with PayPal is that they cost fees, and it's 2.9% plus 30 cents for every transaction. So using a $10,000 example, for every $10,000 you do, you're paying almost $300. So it's convenient because you can do it from your couch or wherever you want to be at. But the thing is the fees. So with manufacturer spending, like I said, I've seen fees be a problem. I've seen time be a problem. I've solved this solution with what I'm going to be dropping in my manufactured spending course, a CAT MS Secrets course. And I've solved it because I've come up with a method that you can do from your couch that has no fees, and it's pretty quickly. So it covers that fees and time aspect. So if you guys want that information, you're going to have to tap in, but that's just a little bit of manufacturer spending. I don't know if you have any more questions on it.
That's really good. And when you talk about building your credit, can you build your business credit before you build your personal credit? Or you must build your personal credit first before you build your business credit?
Technically, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. So you could build your business credit beforehand, but I wouldn't recommend that, for one main reason being that whenever you're going to go for funding, your personal credit is going to influence your business credit. So one of my highest personal credit card limit I have is $25,000 on one credit card. So because I have that, that's potentially going to influence what I could get on the business side. A lot of times on the business side, you can get twice, 3 times, 4 or 5 times as much funding as you can get on the business side. So just based off of that simple fact, I personally would want to establish the foundation of my personal credit. If my highest personal credit card is only $5,000, it's not going to look good on the business side. And most of these cards, or most of these, whenever you're going to get business funding, you got to be a PG or personal guarantor. If you don't know what that means, you're basically backing the business and saying that I'm going to assume liability for it and things like that. You obviously have, for those of y'all that know, you obviously have some cards with no PG, like a Divvy or something like that. But most of these business credit cards and funding you're going to have to require a PG. So that's why I teach to build your personal first as a foundation, and then build the business. But technically you could build the business, but I don't want to say how you should do it, but I prefer people to build the personal.
Someone is listening and they follow. I know there's a gentleman and his name escapes me. And he talks about cash is king.
Okay.
And he's a financial advisor. What would you say about that if someone really adopts the principle that cash is king?
I would say that's a whole mindset thing, because I used to have the same mindset. But now the way I look at it, if I have $100,000 to my name, let me just give this example. If I have $100,000 to my name and I want to get a $100,000 vehicle, why don't I leverage my credit to get it zero money down? And then that $100,000 could be working for me. Maybe I can go put $10,000 in this investment over here. Maybe I'll put $10,000 into some cryptocurrency. I'll put $20,000 into a down payment for real estate. You want your money to be working for you while you're able to have it work for you. If I'm putting the entire 100,000 just to buy this vehicle, then my money isn't able to work for me. So I like looking at my money as employees, right? So you just got to understand to leverage that credit so that your credit is working for you. You're able to leverage other situations. So that person is saying cash is king. I would say credit is king. You want to leverage that credit so that your money can be working for you in different situations. Because like I said, if I have like $100,000, I could split it into multiple investments versus putting everything just on one situation. And I was able to split it into multiple situations because my good credit allowed me to get that money zero money down. And then on top of that, if I really wanted to, I could make sure the car payment is paid off without me even having to do it, just by listing it on car rental place like Turo or personally renting it out to people. So I always like to say, you want your money to be working for you. Even if I have $8 million, $10 million, $20 million, why am I going to be using it if I could use it as credit? If I can go into good debt and be able to allow my money to work for me. And this is coming from somebody. I paid off my student loans back when I was 23 years old, within 1 year of graduation. So I used to have the mindset like, oh, debt is bad, debt is bad, debt is bad. But now that I've grown more and I understand the power of leverage, I can go into good debt and allow my money to be working for me. So that's how I view it.
And that's a great analogy, Michael, because I had a gentleman, if I'm not mistaken, that was on one of the episodes. And he told the story. And the reason I said I think so, because I hear a lot of stories. And so I don't know if someone shared this story or if it was someone on the podcast. So let me retract that. But it was great where he had mentioned that he got a student loan. And a lot of us talk about, like you said, we don't really understand credit. We don't understand leveraging credit and using other people's money is what you're talking about, which is very wise. And if you use it wisely. And what he did was, matter of fact, it was a young lady. She talked about how she was from the Indian culture and they taught her that debt was not good. She went to an Ivy League school and her counterparts, Caucasian, went and borrowed like $100,000, as much as they could. And we know that the interest rates are super low. And what he did is he took that $100,000 and invested that in college on property. Not only does he have roommates paying that mortgage, when he graduated from college to either sell it or it's paid off or whatever, I don't know, but he's already made an investment. So he gets 4 or 5 people living in the house paying the mortgage. He's not even paying the mortgage. He's living for free. He done borrowed $100,000. We know time value of money. So that was really, really wise. And the young lady said she wished that she would have known that strategy
Mm-hmm.
because she didn't know that strategy.
Mm.
So when you're talking about good debt and being a responsible spender of money, using other people's money and leveraging it, that's brilliant.
Thank you.
Michael, we always want to have an attitude of gratitude. So why don't you fill in the blanks? Fill in this blank.
Okay.
Thank you, pandemic, because.
God allowed me to know more about myself and leverage my credit.
Michael, what did you learn about yourself that you didn't know?
I learned that I'm more of a hard worker than I gave myself credit for, no pun intended. Sometimes I'll be in a situation where I feel like, okay, maybe I feel like I'm lazy with what I'm doing, but I just felt like it was because maybe the passion wasn't there as much. But when I was understanding like the truth about credit, as far as like these consumer credit laws I was speaking about earlier, when I'm talking about FDCPA 15 USC 1692, or the FCRA 15 USC 1681, or even the Truth in Lending Act 15 USC 1602, I was just finding myself just constantly up to like 2, 3 a.m. consistently just studying the different laws. So it allowed me to know that I'm not as quote unquote lazy as I may have felt in different situations that where I may not have been passionate. So I think the pandemic really allowed me to just sit down, focus on grind mode, and just really get that information so that I could bless my clients and anyone that listens to the podcast too.
What is your zone of genius?
My zone of genius. Oh, my zone of genius. Okay, that was a very proper way to say what's my superpower. Have you heard of the DISC assessment?
No.
Okay, so it's a personality test. It basically says how you operate, not necessarily who you are. And that kind of reminded me of that. There's 4 different personality styles: D, I, S, and C. My personality style is I'm a high D, which means someone that's like a dominant, demanding, driven person. So I would say my superpower really is the fact that I'm determined, I'm consistent, going back to the core values of CAT. And I just execute because I understand when I look around at people, and I see the fact that 99% of people, I would say, don't really take action, but I would say it's the 1% of people that actually take action. So even the people that's listening to the podcast, when I'm talking about the manufacturer spending, when I'm talking about the credit, when I say something like you can go to freeannualcreditreport.com, I believe it is, and get all 3 of your credit reports, most people are not going to take action. So I would say one of my main superpowers is just my ability to take action as fast as humanly possible.
Michael, I want you to have a monologue. I want you to name this person, living or not, and they have inspired you so much. You are so indebted and you appreciate this person so much. Name the person and what are you saying to this person?
That's a great question. I'm going to give the monologue to the late Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. And the monologue I would say is, thank you for the inspiration. Although I never met you a day in my life, I didn't know that someone I never met could impact me. The passing of someone I never met could impact me, as far as the mindset to wake up early and go get it, as far as the mindset to execute, as far as the mindset to he himself, he was a high D personality as well. So just giving me that inspiration, I would definitely thank him, because the way that he impacted me is the way that I attempt to impact people, as far as people that may be younger than me, people that may be, same age as me, people that just watch what I'm doing as far as credit. So I want to be able to impact people that may have never met me a day in their life the way that Kobe Bryant did. So that's why I would tell him, just thanks for the motivation he gave me, Mamba mentality, everything.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
There are so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Talk about a brand or a business that's dominating that you admire and why.
I'll say I respect what Amazon is doing just because they're always out there. I respect Apple. Let's go with Amazon. I respect what Amazon is doing just because, they're always in our face, and they're just successful in the sense that they've solved a problem to where we always need them. Even if you don't like Amazon, technically you're going to use Amazon. So I think you got to be in that position to where you solve such a huge issue that people, even if they don't like you, they have to shop with you. So I'll say I respect Amazon. That'll be my answer.
Who are your top two influencers and what lessons do they teach you?
One influencer I'll say is my mentor. His name is Nehemiah Davis. So Neo Deviso on Instagram. And a second one, I'll say I like Derek Grace on Instagram too, just because he's very, very transparent. And you said, what did I learn from them?
Yes.
So what I learned from Neo, my mentor, I know him more personally than, I never talked to Derek Grace or anything. But what I learned from Neo is just the fact to be consistent. You just got to be consistent, get 1% better each and every day. What I learned from Derek Grace, he has a different approach as far as his marketing, but he stays in front of people. He has, on the surface level, people might look at him and be like, oh, this guy, he might not be smart just because he has tattoos on his face and stuff like that. But just the way that he markets, I respect it because he knows how to grab people's attention. So that's what I respect from him.
You're also a podcaster.
Yep.
Tell our audience about your podcast.
Yes. Like I said, I'm the CEO of Consumer Ammunition Tactics, or CAT. And I have the CAT podcast. And it's basically a credit podcast where I give different information on credit. So, I mean, if you like anything I said today, you get a lot of that on the podcast. We're almost, at the time right now, we're almost 40 episodes in the podcast. I've had a couple guests here and there. So you can definitely check the podcast for that. So if you're just looking to build your credit, if you're looking to get better with your credit, if you're looking for new manufacturer spending tactics, if you're just looking to improve as far as your credit, then you're going to want to tune into the podcast. And I say credit is life. So if you want to improve with life, I don't know who doesn't want to improve with life, you might want to tune into the CAP podcast. So you can click the link in my bio, my IG bio. My IG is at Mike O. Benjamin, MICHOBENJAMIN. That's my personal Instagram. And you can go and listen to the CAP podcast right now.
What problem exists in the world today that you'd like to solve, Michael?
People's mindset about credit. A lot of people think like, oh, I don't need credit. And sometimes it's just, you don't know what you don't know. Because like I said, I got my first credit card at 20 years old. If you came to me and you said, oh, do you know about this manufacturer spending tactic? I would look at you like you're crazy. So it's just the fact that you don't know what you don't know sometimes. So I think just credit literacy and just making people more aware about the importance of credit, people within our community more aware about the importance of credit, and just credit leverage is something that I would definitely like to solve. Because a lot of people, let me speak for myself. I used to think like, oh, I need all this capital just to start this business. But you could leverage your good credit and get you 0% interest business credit cards for 6 to 12 months. I gave you guys the Key Bank example. That's not an example that I read about somewhere. I physically did. I can show you the Key Bank business credit cards I have. I have two of them. Both are $10,000 limits. I can take that $20,000 if I want to start a Turo business. I can do it. I already started a Turo business with multiple cars. If I want to start Airbnb, I can do it. $20,000 is not a lot of money, but that's only from one bank. You can get $50,000. You can get more money. So I just wish that I knew about that earlier. And that's why I go so hard talking about credit, because we don't have to have the cash to start these businesses. If you're in the right business, something like Airbnb, where people are going to be paying you multiple times, you can go into good debt, maybe $20,000. If you're making thousands of dollars here and there, you're going to pay it back off and you won't have to pay interest. Now you're in the green, you can earn money. You start a business for free. Credit.
And then how did you raise the capital to start your businesses?
I didn't, like I said, with Turo, I just used my credit where I leveraged it. So I had I think my experience was 790 something. That's the highest my credit has been. So it was like 790 something. I went to Bank of America. I got business auto loans because I had good credit. I was able to secure just above $200,000 in funding for vehicles. So I went and got multiple vehicles. So that was how I funded that. My first car payment wasn't due within 30 to 45 days. So I was able to put it on the Turo platform. I'm able to pay off the car payment and I didn't have to come money out of pocket. So that was how I funded my car fleet, based off of leveraging that credit. And then one thing I've done too, I've used the Key Bank capital. I invested in a cryptocurrency. So For people that know, cryptocurrency is volatile. The market can move up, down, up, down. So it is a risk. So you want to know what you're doing. But taking the money off of those credit cards, invested into some crypto, invested into some stocks here and there. I use Airbnb as an example. I'm not in the Airbnb space necessarily right now, but yeah, the main thing was getting multiple vehicles where I didn't have to come out of pocket just because I had that good credit. I didn't have to be like, oh, I need to put $10,000 down payment for all of these vehicles. I get to keep my own capital and allow the people that rent my car to pay, for me, and use my own capital to build whatever I want to build.
And talk about the risk and the insurance that you need when you're renting out those vehicles.
Oh, yeah, that's important too. There's always a risk with vehicles because you risk somebody being able to possibly, God forbid, crash your car or whatever. Luckily, by God's grace, it hasn't happened to me, but you definitely want to make sure that you get the proper insurance. Some people have economy cars, some people have luxury cars, some people have exotic vehicles. So I have luxury vehicles. So I just make sure that I forget the exact protection I have on all of them. I have a business partner, so where we do the Turo business together, but I have Geico for my vehicles. I have a couple personal and then I have business. So for the business side, I have State Farm, but for the personal side, I have Geico. So I would just consult with your insurance person and just make sure that you have at least the basic coverage that you need. So definitely, obviously, you want to have insurance.
What is the best decision you've made as a leader?
Best decision I made as a leader is delegating, because one thing I saw within my business, so I think I referenced earlier that CAT, we have credit repair services. So I used to physically do like all the credit repair services and things of that nature, but I relieved stress from myself by bringing on people to support me. So I have a couple assistants here and there. Even just getting on a podcast. I used to search for a podcast to be on, but I have a team that handles that. So I would just say the best decision I made as a leader, the best decision that anyone can make is just delegating, because you can't do everything by yourself. And I want to reference a good book that was really a game changer for me. And this book is called Who Not How. I forget the author's name. I think his last name might be Sullivan, maybe, but don't quote me. But the book is Who Not How. And it basically just talks about the importance of finding the who's on doing things, not necessarily focusing on how is it going to get done. So a who for me was finding someone to do my credit repair for me. A who for me was finding someone to be my PR for getting me on podcasts versus me doing it. So I could focus on being the face of the business or focus on the systems, or I can find a who to create the systems within my business as well. So biggest thing I would say is delegation, delegation, delegation.
The word is listening, Michael. What is that resounding sound or message that your generation is saying that we should be listening to?
Leverage your credit. Leverage your credit, leverage your credit, leverage your credit. Pull all three of your credit reports if you don't know what's on your credit report, you need to be checking your credit report like you're taking a shower, like daily. You need to constantly check and be aware of what's on your credit. I really want people to really, really focus on their credit. Like you guys probably heard on the bio on the beginning of the episode, I'm known as the credit alchemist. I turn credit to gold as far as manufacturer spending, as far as, everything credit. So I really want y'all to leverage your credit, focus on your credit, because credit is life. If you don't focus on your credit, you're saying you don't care about your life.
Michael, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
That's a good question, by the way. I would have asked, which is one question I ask on my podcast. I say, what is a question that people don't ask you about that you might want to talk about? I would say just culturally. So I come from a Nigerian household. Both of my parents are from Nigeria. So I think maybe that's where a lot of my discipline and stuff comes from. Anyone that's familiar with a Nigerian household, they always say you got to be one of three things or you're considered a failure in the culture. You got to be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. I happen to be an engineer as far as my full-time job and things of that nature. But the thing is, my parents were different, which I appreciated. They weren't necessarily on like, oh, if you're not a doctor, lawyer, engineer, you're a failure. It's more so just be something that's productive to society. So I would just say that's one thing I wanted to mention. I am Nigerian, so shout out to all my Nigerians that may be listening. So yeah, that's it.
Michael, we've come to the part of the interview. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I want you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
Yeah, nothing off the table. Let's answer it. Let's get it.
Your favorite color?
Favorite color is gold. Funny thing too, when I was like in third grade or younger, my favorite color was orange. And not recently, it was like months ago, like last summer in 2021, I went to Miami with my friend, and I was supposed to have a black Lamborghini when we went, but I had to get an orange one. And then it just kind of brought me back to that childhood like feeling. So then I was thinking like, oh yeah, I remember orange used to be my favorite color, but my favorite color is gold. I just wanted to say that.
Your first job?
My first job, I forget the title. It was when I was in college, but it was I had a very, very disrespectful hourly rate. I think it was like $12, $15. I don't even remember how low it was, but I don't even remember the title. But basically what I would do, I would go into different classrooms and I would just make sure that all the desks were in order for the classrooms in my college. And it was pretty relaxed. It was a pretty relaxing job, but I would also come back and do like scheduling things. But I think it was a scheduling assistant or something like that. But it was a job I had in college, like my second year up until senior year.
And, I'm going to do a sidebar when we put things in perspective, and you're saying $12 an hour, and that was super low. Oh,
at the time. Yeah. Let me take back what I said.
No. And no, this is not disrespect at all. I'm just putting into perspective. We talk about credit, we talk about money, and we talk about time value of money, which a lot of people don't understand. That economic term about time value of money is really profound. But what's really deep is that when you say that, I remember when my father was making $1, like $5 a week. But for me personally, 30 years ago, when I moved to Las Vegas, they were paying me with the degree $6 an hour. Wow. And Vegas has not moved up. They're probably at maybe $8 or $9 an hour. So when we put things in perspective, just to say, when somebody, and I know that they're trying, now we're talking about the Great Resignation, they're trying to pay more. But when we put things in perspective, it's like, wow, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, definitely.
But you didn't do any disrespect. I just wanted us to travel back in time say, even in 2021, people are still making possibly $8 or $9 an hour, which is a travesty.
That is crazy. Yeah, I said that to say, if anyone's listening to the podcast, I didn't mean to disrespect you.
No, it wasn't. It's just real talk. It's real talk is what it is. Facts. We're not about bashing, because I brought myself in. It wasn't about bashing. It was just real talk.
Got you.
The last movie you saw?
Oh man, I did not be watching movies like that, but I think I watched Black Panther recently, just because I was thinking about the whole Chadwick passing thing. So I would say Black Panther was one I recently watched. I mostly watched Power on Stars, if people know about Power. Power just came back recently. So yeah, that's mainly it. I don't really watch too much.
You relax doing what?
I relax. This is kind of a contradiction, but going to the gym.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
I'm going to give two. So it might sound contradiction again. So Kendrick Lamar, I like Kendrick. And then I also like Young Thug, just because Young Thug is like different, the way he does his sounds and his vocals. Some people might be like, oh, they're contradictory because Kendrick's lyrics is more like real. Young Thug is not, or whatever. But Kendrick and Young Thug, I like both of them.
Your favorite dance song?
I don't have one. Not at the moment.
What food do you eat every week, no matter what?
Rice and stew, Nigerian dish, real quick.
Your favorite month?
February. That's my birth month.
Workout or hit the couch?
Oh, you already know, workout.
Michael Benjamin, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, why don't you share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and to do business with you, And feel free to leave all your social media handles.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. I hope you guys got value out of the time we had here on the podcast. If you want more value, the best way to reach me is by going to my personal Instagram, which is at Mike O. Benjamin, which is spelled MICHOBENJAMIN, at Mike O. Benjamin. You can also go to our business Instagram, which is CA Tactics LLC. So CATACTICS LLC. And if you click the link in either of those bios, you can definitely get a lot of resources, such as listening to the CAT podcast, such as going to the CAT Credit University, where you can get a free do-it-yourself credit checklist. You can get a free Consumer Laws 101 checklist, and you can begin studying the consumer laws so that you can use it in your disputes to get negative items off of your report. You can also get a free session for credit repair. Our email is repair@catactics.com. So if you want to send us an email, say you heard us on a podcast and you want to do credit repair, then definitely let us know. And yeah, that's how you can reach us.
Thank you. That's a wrap.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.